This is 3ABN Now with Rosemary Malkovich and Casey Verkerker.
Welcome to our program today. We're really glad you've joined us as usual. We like to bring you stories that will uplift your hearts to God. And I'm sure that we're going to do that today, Casey.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Looking forward to this discussion.
Yeah,
very much.
What's our memory verse?
Yes, so we have a memory verse which has been chosen by Esther, who is our guest today. Thank you, Esther. And 1 Chronicles 16:11, which says, "Seek the Lord and his strength, seek his face continually." And this is from a beautiful psalm of David. And Esther, tell us why you chose this particular verse.
That verse actually reminds me of how I actually seek God's strength all the time. He is my strength throughout all the issues that I've had in the years that I haven't been well.
Okay. Yeah.
And I like the continually. It says to seek his face continually.
Yes.
That means seek to be in God's presence, seek to see him on a daily basis, which is really important.
Yes, totally agree.
Well, we have Esther Chang with us, and Esther, we have had you on the program before.
Yes.
We discussed some of the amazing miracles that God has wrought in her life, especially through an aneurysm that should have killed you, breast cancer that was picked up in a way that was very, very amazing, and other stories. And we didn't get to finish them. Yes. So we invited Esther to come back and to tell us more of her stories. And even since she was on the program before, she's got another story to add. So that's really amazing in itself. And so Esther is going to continue her stories. If you haven't seen the other program, you really need to watch that. You'll get to find it on the internet. And watch that one and be blessed, because I know that God's going to bless you today as we listen to some more of Esther's stories of God's incredible miracles in her life. So Esther,
thank you.
I would like you to go ahead now and bring us into the new stories that you're going to talk about today, especially the one to do with your neck, which we didn't even get to touch on last time.
Yes. In 2019, my sister and brother-in-law just came back from the States, and it was on Sabbath, and we decided to go and visit them. And I think it was late in the afternoon, and Sabbath was just about to finish, and we started to take a walk. And my brother-in-law and my husband was behind me. My two sisters were right in front at quite a distance, and I was in the middle. And all of a sudden, I felt someone pushing me on this side of my shoulder. And I went flying down, and I had a look, and I went straight into a metal pole, directly across in that particular way. And I fell backwards, and the way I hit, it was really close to my eye, and it started to swell. So my sister ran up to her apartment to try and get some ice. And my other sister, who was a nurse, who's sat with me, kept saying to me, "Don't close your eyes. Just keep looking. Don't fall asleep." Because she saw the seriousness of that terrible fall from quite a distance right into this metal pole.
And you told us before, you went 2 meters across into that metal pole. That's a long way to fly.
I mean, Rosemary, we did go back and have a look at it. The ground, there was nothing. in the ground that could have stopped, would have caused me to fall. And I was actually on flat shoes. So what happened here was, I laid down when the ambulance came, I had this severe pain in my neck, and I told them I was in a lot of pain. And they straight away strapped me up like a spinal patient to lift me onto the stretcher. And there I was taken to Prince Alfred Hospital, and it really was the best center to go to for whatever injury I was supposed to have. When they did the MRI, what I had was a cervical 1 fracture, and cervical 2, the vertebrae broke into half. So, well, it meant I had to go for surgery. So after preparing me, after a couple of days, with this enormous brace that was up here right across down to my neck, and it was quite uncomfortable having my neck stretched in this particular way.
And we've got the photos of it.
Yes. I had to have that on, and that particular brace, I had it for 9 months.
Oh, that's a long time.
So what happened here was, here I was having this brace and having to go for surgery, and it was a 7-hour surgery. And the doctor said to me, the surgeon said, that they will come through here to the front to go right through to my neck. Going to the back was too close to all the spinal nerves. But where I got really extremely stressed and worried was the fact that going through here, they reminded me, was going through my vocal cords, going through close to my carotid artery, close to my vessels next to me, and my esophageal as well. So,
and the fact that you're a nurse,
I got scared.
Understand all of the dangers.
Yeah.
And the anaesthetic person who came to see me said to me, you know, this is going to be a very painful surgery, he said. What we're going to do is we're going to set up intravenous for you, so when you come back from theatres, you'll be able to use the pump yourself to actually give yourself medications, which was pain medications, or analgesia, as we might say. And so you will be staying in intensive care for at least 2 days, where they could monitor you carefully. And that night, I just prayed. And I took my mobile phone in my hand, and I wrote all these messages to, many people right around, to ask them to pray for me. Partly because I was scared. I was extremely scared. I was really worried. And it was a time where I thought, I just needed God's strength, and I also needed people to pray for me to give me that strength.
Because you had a broken neck.
Yes.
And if this didn't get fixed, what was the outcome?
The seriousness of cervical 1 and 2 fracture is death or quadriplegia. It was not even talking about paraplegia, it was quadriplegia.
Wow.
So I, of course, being a nurse, am aware of the seriousness of my injury. So, and on top of it was now knowing that I'm going to go through my neck and all the other complications attached to it. So I was extremely, in so many words, so scared. But they had to tell me about the complications, because that's part of a doctor's job if someone's going for surgery. So here I was, supposed to be in intensive care for 2 days. I came out of surgery. They asked me if I had any pain. I said no. What was so wonderful was that everyone was praying for me. There were groups of people in different churches that were praying for me every minute of that surgery.
Wow.
Throughout that 7 hours. And so when I came out, I did ask God to give me no pain. And anyway, there was no pain. So that pump that they set up for me for 2 days was not even used once. And I was told I was supposed to be in intensive care for 2 days. Here I was sitting right in front of the desks of where the medical doctors and health professionals were. And because I was wide awake looking at everybody non-stop, I was out of intensive care after a day.
Wow.
Instead of 2 days. And the amazing part, because the surgery went well, instead of me being there for much longer, I went home in 2 days.
Just a thought that I have. They went in through the front of your neck.
Yes.
And you've got this really, really strong brace on.
Yes.
How was that with your scars, you know, your surgery having to heal? Was that a problem?
No, as a matter of fact, healing was really good. As you look at my neck now, you don't even see a scar.
Yeah, I'm
It
just
all
thinking, you know, that
disappeared.
thing pressing
the neck
against
was pressing
there.
against, but it was pressing on both sides of my neck to keep it stabilized like that. And this just pushed up in this way.
It was holding your neck.
Holding my neck up, and in a way there was space in between.
Oh, that's all right then. I was just concerned about it. And maybe viewers would have been thinking similar.
Yes. But the thing was, because there was no bones laid down or callus, I had to be treated like a spinal patient. My sister, when I had a hair wash, my sister had to hold on to my neck, lying down in this way, while my husband took out the brace, changed it, and put it back again.
And wash your hair.
And I could wash my hair, everything would be all wet. And then what they did give me was an additional brace, and they would change that brace while I was treated like a spinal patient. So every 6 weeks, I went to see the surgeon. I had a CT scan to be done first, then I went to see him in the city. And each time, there was not one single callus being put in or bone formation. So
it was still broken.
it was having a pin being to pull the two bones together. They still needed all the bones to be laid down, not only for cervical 1, which was fractured, but for cervical 2 for stabilization. So I had to have the bones laid down.
So you're saying that the pin was in place, but the bone itself
Yes.
wasn't actually doing the healing that was expected. Is that
It was supposed to have more bones laid down completely so that it doesn't move. And movement is not good for the neck, because you're more likely to be a quadriplegic.
Yeah.
So having the bones is a sort of a serious issue. So every 6 weeks, I had lots of things that I could say in this program of what was recommended to me. One was recommended to me, a forte medication, where they wanted me to have, I had to see a specialist because they were so desperate for me to get the bones to be laid down. But then when I don't know what made me go into the chemist and say to the chemist, I want to look at the clinical trials. I've never done that before. It's just the thoughts that came into my mind to ask me to do things of this nature. When the chemist, I looked at the clinical trials, I had a shock, because in this particular trial, all the rats died and had sarcoma, which is a bone cancer. So in 18 months, they had to stop the trials because of the seriousness. And here I was being recommended to have this injection every day. That was, every batch was $500.
Oh, I tell you what, I wouldn't be wanting to do it.
No.
Yes.
If that's what was happening in the tests. I'm surprised
right.
that they could even sell the stuff.
That's right. I had a body scan from top to my leg to look to see if I've got cancer. Just to make sure there's a baseline that I did not have cancer.
Wow.
Because no one actually said to me that one of the side effects of this medication was sarcoma. And what made me go to the chemist and ask for this information, which instilled in my mind to do that, to ask me to go and have a look at these medications, to tell me I've got, look, I've had breast cancer, I don't need any more cancer.
Fair enough.
So I said to myself, my daughter, after buying, as I was walking out of the surgery, I remember the specialist said to me, you don't want to be with this brace for the rest of your life, do you? If my mother had the same condition as you, I would recommend it. Means what they're trying to say to me, there was no other option.
To
But I
take
had
this
to have it.
medication.
So I went home and I bought the medication, the first lot of $500 for that little box. And I said to myself, should I use it? And my daughter and my husband said, no, do not touch it. So I didn't. I didn't even give myself a single injection. It's still in my refrigerator. And still, they were all bones laid down. So in July of that year, I asked pastor of the church to actually have the group to come and pray for me. So they did. Nothing happened. No bones were laid down. Then in November, my surgeon said to me, Esther, I'm really sorry to tell you, we have to take you back to surgery. If the next visit, when you come in December, and there's still not one single bone being laid down, you have to have a fixation. That means that I cannot move my neck across like that. I would actually have to move my body.
Because your neck has lost
talk
its
to
mobility.
someone, or to see them, once the fixation is done. So let's go for another CT scan when you come in December, which I did. But I remember that week, I was in the shower, and I knelt down in the shower room, and I said to God, God, you saw what happened. All these medications that's been recommended to me has not worked. And something that I would not, some of it, I would not even touch. You made me, God. You can heal me. You're the only one that can heal me. Because the general practitioner and I talked about even using the osteoporotic medications to help me in the formation of bone. But my daughter in the States, when she was living at that time in New York, sent me 2 articles that we didn't even have in our university library at that time, showed that when people had these medications after 6 months and they decide to not go ahead with these medications, they could be in the kitchen. Remember, this woman was in the kitchen and suddenly she heard cracking noises and her whole femur broke into half.
While she's
So
just
once
standing
you start those medications, you have to continue with some other medications to help you throughout. So when I went back and told the GP, which is the general practitioner, about it, he said, don't do anything. He said, go and see the doctor in December and let's make a decision after we hear what the outcome is going to be. So, as I said, that week I prayed, and I kept saying the same prayer to God. And I went in. Again, I had my CT scan before seeing the surgeon. And then I went to see him then. He opened up the screen before me, and it was a huge screen. He said, "There's bones everywhere. Did you take any medications?" I said, "No, but look at it, all the bones that's filled that whole space." And I said, "It is God." And he looked at me. He said, "Esther, you don't have to come and see me anymore. You are healed."
Whoa.
He said, "If you have issues, you come back to see me. If not, I want you to go to your GP, which is your general practitioner, and I would like you just to see him for your normal visit, but you don't have to come back." I said, "What about this brace? You know, I'm in the car. What if I was in the car and it jerked, you know?" Now I'm getting nervous. He said, "No, you are healed."
Let's look at those photos of the x-rays.
Yes.
So that we can see what you're talking about, that there is bone.
Yes.
That's an original one, is it? You can see the pin.
You can see the pin right through the bone, pulling it together, and you can see the space.
Yeah, there's no bone there.
There's no bone there.
Mm.
Now you can't see the pin, and
No.
you see it being filled up.
You can see where the pin was,
Yes.
but you can see there's one little piece on the right-hand side where the
Yes.
bone is still having to fill in.
That's right.
So what was the space of time from when you had seen him and
Yes.
there was no evidence of any new bone,
Yes.
and then now there's all this bone?
That's right.
How much time was there in that space? Was that 3 weeks?
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Yes.
Wow.
And all along, it was
For
like
months there was no bone.
Yeah.
for 9 months there was nothing.
Nothing.
Mm.
Wow.
God was very faithful and merciful to me. That's all I can say. And hallelujah, taking this brace up, sleeping with this brace, getting up, walking with this brace, day in and day night, not being at work for 9 months, and being in this situation.
And now you can take it off.
Yes. And I could move my neck without the fixation.
So it's like you're pretty
Yes.
much back to normal.
I'm back to normal again.
I remember while you had actually the broken neck,
Yes.
and I remember my son James telling me, "She's got a broken neck," you know, and I go,
Yes.
"What?" You know,
Yes.
Here she is up she's actually, you were in church at
Yes.
Waitara when I saw you, and there you are with this brace on,
Yes.
but you had a broken neck.
I had
and
a
I'm
broken
going,
neck,
and
yes.
she's walking around.
Yes. I had to, it was a survival thing because I just had to forget about how uncomfortable that brace was around my neck. And I think the most difficult part was going to sleep every night.
Yeah.
Just lying down there and trying to go to sleep where you've got this big bulky thing in your neck and sleeping on that pillow as well, pushing against the back of your neck.
Yes.
Yes. So I praise God, and the glory is His.
And and you have compassion for others who have to go through that.
I do. I do. When I see people with the brace, I always say, "Thank you, God." That was quite an experience, you know. But He showed me that with Him, anything is possible. He made us. He can heal us.
Yeah, that's amazing after all those months of no
Yes.
bone. And then suddenly
Yes,
it's like it's been there all along.
that's right. And that's why even the surgeon was in shock.
Yeah.
And the other specialist said to me, "If you don't have these medications, this injection, you will be in this brace for the rest of your life."
So this was a real witness to them.
That's
that
right.
There was something that happened here that was totally
Yes.
out of the ordinary.
Beyond a human hands,
Yeah.
right? It is God. No one else could do that. He made us. He can heal us.
Yeah. And yet that your story with that really does come back to the verse you picked, because it was when you earnestly stopped and said, Lord, you are the only one who can heal me,
Yes.
that God said, okay, I'll come
Yes.
through.
Yes.
And I guess in that sense, it really is all the more to his glory, because every other avenue was, there was
Yes.
no solution.
There was no solution.
Short of you being in a worse state.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I tried everything, and
Yeah.
I said, I tried everything. Nothing worked. Suggested by medical staff, not working at all. Who is in charge here? God.
Yeah.
It's like when my dad, who's been dead for a long time now, but he'd had a massive heart attack, and he was in the big Fremantle Hospital in Western Australia, and they kept moving him. Every day Mum and I would go in. He was moved to a different ward. We never knew where to find him one day to the next. And suddenly they actually put him in ICU for 2 days, so we were surprised because we actually went to the same ward 2 days in a row. And I had to go back home to the family, and my dad was still in hospital, and the doctors finally told Mum, there's nothing more we can do for him. His heart was in such bad condition, so badly damaged, and it was out of rhythm, and he wasn't going to survive. They said, well, there's nothing more we can do for him, it's between him and his maker. That day his heart went back into regular rhythm, all by itself. And he lived another 7 years.
It's amazing. It's God.
God did
God's
it.
work.
Yes.
The doctors gave up and God stepped in.
Yes. Yes. And my glory, I will show you my glory, says God. You know, I'm the maker. I created you.
Since you were here with us last time, you had something happen. Tell us that story.
Yes, that was most unfortunate. I was going to Storm Cove, Alice Springs.
What is Stormco?
Storm Cove is a group of people, is a name, some community project that people volunteer to give service to God. And this time they chose to go to Alice Springs. And the church, Parramatta Central, decided to go with their members across to Storm Cove to do community work for the Aboriginals. So we were going, and it was all planned, and our fares and everything was paid to go there, to be there for almost 10 days or so to help. But what happened to me was I just remember that day where I said in my mind that my husband could go and pick up my granddaughter while I finished a project that I was dealing with. And then all of a sudden, he wasn't feeling top form, and I just thought to myself, I need to go with him. So I stood up, and I just didn't look at the ground. And there was this row of carpet that's next to the dining table. I stood up, and I went forward, and I fell down on the marble floor like a hot potato. Bang, you know, down.
A heavy hot potato.
Yes, and I screamed, and I screamed. The pain was so intense. I just screamed and screamed, and my husband came running, and he was trying to help. I said, "Don't touch me, I'm in pain." You know, I was just in so much pain. And then I settled down, and I just said, "Oh, we got to pick Alana." That's my granddaughter, because time is clicking, and you know, someone has to go and pick her up. And so he said, "What do I do?" He said, "I'll grab some pillows for you." So he grabbed some pillows, he laid me down, and then he went to pick up Alana. And so by that time, my son-in-law and my daughter arrived because they heard about my fall. And they tried to help me to get up as well. And I couldn't because I was in so much pain. At the end of the day, they had to call the ambulance. And I was taken, again, and I was taken to emergency. And there, after going for a CT scan and X-ray first, I said to the doctor as I was going in, she said, "We're going to do an X-ray." I said, "I don't think so. An X-ray is enough. This one, I think she got to do more than an x-ray, because the fall was so intense that I knew I either broke my bones, my ligaments are affected because it was on my knee, or whatever, you know, was happening in that leg because the pain was so bad. And usually I can take pain reasonably well. So anyway, I said to her, isn't that, well, we'll wait and see what the x-ray says first. And what happened, I went from an x-ray to a CT scan to an MRI.
Oh, all three.
All three. And I had a fractured tibia that ran right across here in the front of where my joint, my knee was. It wasn't open, it was in place, but there was a crack right through. But my ligaments, what I prayed for, that I did not have to have surgery, I did not have to have, that my ligaments were not torn, and I said to God, if I had to have crutches or my brace or whatever, this time it's a brace for the knee, I wouldn't go to Stormcore because I would be more of a nuisance. So,
and you were looking forward to it.
Yes, instead of them helping other people, they would be helping me.
Yeah.
And plus, I was in such a bad state that, you know, couldn't take pain medications and all those different things. So what happened at the end of the day, I had crutches and I didn't go to Stormcore. But I asked God, my daughter didn't even know, Geraldine, she couldn't understand, no one could understand how this could happen in 3 days before we were supposed to go. And then I had to say, because that was our prayer, and so when they insisted that I had to have crutches and I could not weight bear, and if I did, it was only going to be a little bit, that we realized that I couldn't go. But there was a reason, I believe. My friend, who I was doing midwifery is what I should say, we had 4 of us, 5 of us that were really good friends for almost 45 years. And 3 of them were overseas. 1 was in England, 1 was in France, and 1 was in the States. So there were 3 of them, and that was just me and this particular person. Anyway, I had a phone call around 10 o'clock in the night the next day, and this friend said to me, before I tell you, would you promise me that you would not mention it to the 3 people overseas? I just don't want to upset them, because they're all really close-knitted. So I said, sure. I said, what is it? I said. And this person said to me, I'm really sick. I'm in our Adventist hospital. She's not a Seventh-day Adventist. And I said, what happened? 9 months ago, she had a hip replacement. And she still couldn't walk without pain. And they kept saying to her it was the tendon that was the cause of it, and it would take a while for the tendon to heal. So she was in a lot of pain until she finally met a pain specialist who looked at her and said, it's not your hip. So what happened was, where she had the spinal anesthetic, somehow or other got infected. And the pus and the inflammation and the bacteria went from that spinal area at the lumbar region and tread right into her new hip replacement and infected that whole area.
That's terrible.
And she was really sick. So they put her on high levels of antibiotics. She was sent to surgery straight away. They took part of it and replaced it for her. And there she was with the high levels of antibiotics intravenously. And then she had acute renal.
Renal failure.
That's right. Her creatinine was more than double what her normal is. And she was having all these, and she had 9 liters of fluid in her body. And her legs were as huge as this. I couldn't go and see her when she realized what was happening to me and that I couldn't even move or whatever. I was in so much pain. And all I did every morning and night, I wrote her messages of God and prayed and rang her and talked to her once. And often through our call, she's in so much pain and she was in such a bad way. So we talked about God every morning, every night, texting her, writing her, sending her cheery things. And then I rang her husband up and I said to her husband, your wife is seriously ill. You have to start praying for her. And he said, you think I should pray? I said, she's in a very bad way. She might die. She's a very sick person. So he said, yes. So he left, he put on the phone, and just a couple of days ago, he said he didn't believe in God. He said to my husband, I don't believe in all that.
And now he's willing to be told that he needs to pray.
To pray. I said, you've got to pray. He said, I said, yes. She's going to die. I'm sorry. I have to tell you that. Because she's got now acute renal failure. She's in a bad way. She's got infections still they're trying to clear. I said, she's got 9 liters of fluid in her body. What are we talking about? You know? So he started praying. And God performed a miracle. After that conversation, 3 days later, her kidneys started to work. And she was able to pass all the 9 liters of fluid and was discharged.
Whoa.
And the hospital sent nurses to go and see her every day to make sure that she's okay. Intravenous, her IV injections were going on and things were getting better. But she says to me, it's a miracle.
Absolutely.
And I met her just last week with the 4 friends that have returned. One of them came back who was a clinical consultant in renal and renal transplant. She and I started to pray for this person because she said to me, she's in a bad way, we would lose her.
Lose her.
And God performed the miracle. And my friend says to everyone on that table, it was a miracle. And for her husband, he believes there is a God. So I actually believe, and now it's back to me again.
Because we've done a sidetrack into what happened while you are in terrible pain and
That's right.
brokenness.
And now my sister, I was in pain, and now with these crutches, a lot of pain. And my sister and brother-in-law were going to go to Israel, and then the Middle East, the war has taken place, and everything was cancelled, and they decided, because he's a doctor, they had to use the time that they've asked all the other doctors to cover for them. And he's an obstetrician. So what happened was they decided to come to Australia to visit us, and I was in distress. Because I really, in my heart of heart, to be honest with you, I really didn't want them to come. Because I was in so much pain, and I could just imagine that I had to do things, and what do I do in a situation like that? Of course, says everybody I could buy food, but it's a different story. Now I'm in pain, I have to cope with this. And
you had a big boot on your leg, didn't you?
The boot was taken out, but I had the crutches. So I prayed, and I told God my whole story. I said, God, I'm in trouble, I'm in stress, I'm in pain. I don't think I can cope with this. I'm in such a terrible way, you know. And that night, this is just the start of the 3rd week. That night, I was got up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet.
I'll just interrupt you. This is the start of the 3rd week since you
had the fracture.
Broke your leg.
Yes.
How long did the doctors say it would take to heal?
The doctors said it would take about 6 weeks. And my physiotherapist said to me, because of my age, looking at what I couldn't do and in so much pain, 12 weeks. He said.
So you're looking at all of this time yet until you are healed.
Correct.
You can't take pain medication.
Yes.
Because of the impact of that on you.
My stomach.
Yeah, and so you're in terrible pain.
I'm in terrible pain.
And now your sister and brother-in-law are going to come and visit you with all of this going on.
That's right.
And so this night you've prayed.
I prayed.
And then you get up to go to the bathroom.
That's correct. I got up to go to the bathroom, and as I was just about to reach out for my crutches, a thought came into my brain and said to put my feet down. Remember, I wasn't supposed to wait bare much on this fractured leg for it to heal. They wanted me to do this conservative treatment just to stop me from having to have another surgery. So I was very happy about that, believe it or not. So anyway, asked me to put my feet down, and I put my feet down, and there was no pain. So I then grabbed the crutches, and I took one instead of two, and I put it on, and I walked to the toilet, and I got back to bed with no pain, and I went to sleep. And I woke up in the morning, I thought, oh, it must be a dream. I had no pain. I said to myself that. And then
what a good dream.
What happened? I then said, try. So I went down, put my feet down, no pain.
Wow.
So I grabbed one of my crutches and I started to walk, no pain whatsoever. And then I decided to do away with both my crutches and walk around without any crutches. And when my sister and my brother-in-law came, everything was like normal because I had my 2 feet and I did not have pain. And so I went to visit the physiotherapist because he told me I had to go and see how I was progressing with my exercises, someone who could not even lift one bit. There's no hope for me for another 12 weeks. So I was there, and he saw me coming in with no crutches. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm healed." He said, and then I sat down, I said, "Are you a Christian?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Can I share a story with you?" I shared my head injury story with him, and I then told him what happened that night, and he said to me, "All right, don't have to use anything at home. But you look at that walking stick there, I would loan it to you. But when you go to the surgeon in 3 weeks' time, please use that walking stick. Because I cannot contradict that surgeon who said you cannot do what you're supposed to be doing. Use your crutches," he said, all right? "But I'll let you use the walking stick." So I went to see the surgeon, and I told him with my walking stick, I said, "I'm healed." I said, "God healed me," you know. And he looked at me again like she's lost it, this woman. And then I said to him, he said, "Well, if you were healed, let's see how you walk." I said, "Okay." So I walked without my walking stick, and he said, "You don't have to come back to see me." Just like what the neurospinal person said, "You don't have to come and see me." He said, "Unless you got any issues." Same words as that man. And I said, "Wonderful." So when I went back to my physiotherapy, I said, this time I didn't come with the walking stick. I held it in my hand like that. I said to my physiotherapy, I said, "Here you are, I'm healed. I've got the okay that all is well.
Mm. And that's the beginning of the 3rd week.
Yes.
So it's only been what, like
2 weeks and 6 days.
that you then were completely healed, and then the doctor signed off that you are healed
Yes,
from this big fracture.
that's right.
Instead of
And
6 to 12
Instead,
weeks.
yeah.
And the best part is there was no more pain.
Yes.
Look, when you know, as you know, we have to, as ladies, we have to use the toilet, just like this in sitting position. I couldn't even sit down without the pain. I have to position my leg in this way. My husband became so desperate with the pain that I was having that he said, I will carry you. I will carry you. They couldn't even use the wheelchair, because even the wheelchair, even if it was a bit of movement, there was pain.
Yeah.
And we, in the end, decided to do without the wheelchair. And I said, no, 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 you can't carry me. Oh, I could think that my husband could drop me and I'll have another injury. And I was so worried.
It'd be worse than the start.
Yeah. I said, no. But God took all that pain, that terrible pain.
Wow.
I was here for my friend. God actually, at the end of the day, I couldn't think about anything else but this friend of mine who experienced the miracle and a husband of what God did. And God took care of me too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Both of you had miracle stories, and then
Yes.
after that, you were able to enjoy the time with your sister.
That's right. Yes.
How nice.
So beautiful.
Wasn't that lovely?
Yeah.
God is faithful. Do you know, and that's why, you know, I always believe, as I said to you, Tracy, that God has our interests at heart. Even when things don't work out for us and things get delayed, or you seem to think that your prayers have not been answered, the fact that God has our interests at heart, you can trust Him. So if you don't get something or things don't happen, there is always a reason. And because you trust Him and He doesn't harm you at all, you can believe that it's always for your own good.
And
whatever the outcome.
something is going to work out.
Correct. In whatever way, even when you don't get it. Because I've had people say, God doesn't answer my prayer. But there's sometimes a reason behind and how you've been asking that prayer. Asking God for.
God is always working for
Yes.
our good.
Yes.
I know that Ellen White writes that if we could see the end from the beginning,
Yes.
and we could choose what was going on, we would choose the way God chose,
Yes.
because we could see that that was the best way
The
for things
outcome
to be
will
done.
Even
If
when
we could
it's
see it.
negative and it's awful, there is, God can turn a negative of something horrible or something evil to something good.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
right. All things work
All
together
things work
for good.
better for God.
That God can turn bad things around, that they
Yes.
have a better outcome than
Yes.
what we had expected.
Yes. And sometimes when you are attacked by the evil one, He can turn that around for you.
And it may not be, as you found with your broken leg, it may not be for you.
Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely.
It's for somebody else that God needs you to reach out
Yes.
to,
Yes.
that God allows you to have something happen. Not that He forces it to happen,
Yes.
but He allows it to happen.
And at this big session of Storm Call, when the 20 volunteers came back, and everybody gave their experience about their experience in Storm Call, and then I put up my hand and I said, can I now that everyone's finished, tell you why I believe I wasn't there? And I shared this story with all of them, the miracles God did for my friend and her husband and for myself. And they were just blown away. And they all started to answer, how could this happen? How could this happen? Especially, we were going away to do good.
Yes.
You know, and we were doing things for the community. How could this happen?
God had another mission for you for that interim.
Yes.
Well, God had other people to do the mission.
Well, this is true. He had enough to go around.
They still were there doing the work. They still, the whole 19 people were still doing the work. Well, my friend who was extremely sick.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I went to see her 3 days before she left, and I saw the 9 liters of fluid. It was huge. Her thighs were that big.
Isn't it amazing?
Yes. Her kidneys was not functioning. Wasn't getting rid of that urine.
Very good.
Yes.
We've got one more story that we have for you to tell. But we really do need to do, we have an address roll for people who would like to contact us. And I would actually like to do our address roll early so that we can have the last part of the program for this final story that you have to tell us. So if you have any, if you would like to contact us, or even to contact Esther Chang, contact us and we will pass on any communication that you want to have with her to her. So get your pen and paper, because we want to give you our address details, our contact details right now.
If you would like to contact 3ABN Australia, you may do so in the following ways. You may write to 3ABN Australia, PO Box 752, Morisset, New South Wales 2264, Australia. Or you may call 02 4973 3456. That's 02 4973 3456. You may also email us at mail@3abnaustralia.org.au. That's mail@3abnaustralia, all one word, .org.au. Thank you for all you do to help us light the world with the glory of God's truth.
I hope you're able to catch those details, and I hope you've been enjoying these amazing stories from Esther Chang today with us. And we are looking forward to hearing one last story which Esther has of what God has done in her life. And so, Esther, take us to that one.
Every night I will hang on to my knob in my front door, and I would say this: Father, we're going to sleep now. Would you take care of us and protect us from the evil one and his evil angels and evil men and women who are being used by them? And then I'll mention the different names of the family to ask God to protect. And I'll walk up the stairs and finish with an amen at the top of the stairs. Well, I did that all the time, every day. Without fail, I would hang on to the knob and I'll do my ritual. My daughter's daughter was sick, and I remember looking at some kitchen in the shop, and she rang me and she said, she's not well, we might have to take her to Westmead. Can I buy you anything? Because I'm here in the shop. It was a Thursday night. And she said, yes. So I was looking for her, and normally I'm home by about 7 o'clock. But today I was there to the end of the shopping time, which was 9 o'clock, because I was looking for things that she asked me to buy. When I got home, the door, when my husband turned the knob, he felt quite easy to turn the knob, but it never occurred to him what was really wrong with the door at that point, until we went upstairs and then we saw my whole bedroom, the cupboards and everything was thrown everywhere in all the cupboards. And then where my walk-in cupboard with all the clothes was dismantled. The whole place was dismantled that you couldn't walk through. So we called the police, and by the time they came, it was 12 midnight. And they gave us a few advice about the doors and knobs and all that. usually my cat was there waiting for me, and this time my cat wasn't there, and that's why I felt that something was strange. But my cat was outside because the person who came into the house had the back door open. So what happened was, the police told us not to touch anything until the forensic person comes the next day to look at the house and take fingerprints of what occurred. So she started talking to us when she came the next day, and she said, is anything lost? I said, I don't know because I can't go in. I'm told not to touch. But things that were valuable sitting out there, the person never touched. You know? And she said there are two things they come in for. They usually come for money and for jewelry. So, the minute when she mentioned money to me, I ran upstairs because I was saving for a kitchen that we were going to install. And when people gave me presents and money for presents, I used to, instead of putting in a bank, I had a wallet like that, and I put my money in, and then there was a cloth that covers the wallet, and I put it back into the box. And I ran upstairs with this lady and my husband. I said, oh, I've got money, I said. So we ran upstairs, and there was this box open up, and there was the cloth that covered it. It was taken out. It was thrown. And I picked my wallet up, and I thought, this $5,000 must be gone. I opened my wallet, and the money was there.
And yet the person had
opened everything
it up.
Wow.
So it just occurred to me, and I said, the money's here. I said to this lady, I said, do you know, the Bible says that God sometimes blinds people's eyes so that they cannot see. And I said, the person must have picked this wallet up because he took the whole box out. He took the wallet. He would have hung on the wallet to be able to take that cloth out from the wallet that covered it. But he must have opened it up too, but his eyes were blinded. So all my money was there.
Wow.
So the kitchen was done 6 months later.
Amazing. Amazing stories. I hope you've enjoyed Esther's stories as much as we have, and know that God has got your back. He's always with you. God bless you.